Hello everyone, this is the day 10, authorization, controlling what users can do. So, in the previous session, we have been discussing about authentication of who you prove you are. That's where authentication comes into picture, and we have gone through different ways in which you can prove who you are. There is PIN, OTP, biometrics, FIDO, and many other systems that you can use, right? So, this is the actual piece. Definitely you should have stronger authentication system, but also a right authorization system helps you to achieve the principle that we were discussing initially, the principle of least privilege. Okay, so authorization is controlling what users can do. The first definition is of authorization is deciding what resource a user can access and what actions they are allowed to perform once they are inside the system. So they have proved who they are, and the proving is done. They are in. Now there'll be different pockets of access. There'll be admin access, user access, say auditor access. So now as a user or as someone who has been authenticated, how do they know which level of access they can get? Where is it defined? On what basis is what I'm going to cover. First, it comes after authentication. So this proving has to be done first. You cannot go first check the rooms of the office and then come out in the gate and then show your ID card. You have to show your ID card first and then go and decide around it what level or which room you'll have access to. So now I know who you are. What are you allowed to do? That is what is authorization. Why it matters: prevents users from accessing data systems beyond their role, enforces principle of least privilege, critical for compliance. Because in the compliance world, one thing that is reviewed is what level of access you have. Who has those access? Are those access being tracked or not? Are they being monitored? And are they being revoked also? Yeah. So authorization model, there are three basic types of authorization model: RBAC, ABAC, policy, PBAC. Okay. And DAC is one of the model. Right. So first, role-based access control is, let's say you have three set of users: department, finance, payroll, and IT. There are three sets of users. So in a high level, if I'm giving this user access to this user access because that person has joined a part of the finance team, so I'll give the user part of the finance access. This user, I'll give them access to payroll, and this user, I'll give them access to IT. Right? So this way in which the access has been granted based on the roles and responsibilities, access tied to the roles, like HR, is called role-based access control. But if I'm going a little bit more granular and saying, okay, let me not look at the roles, let me look at their location or department and device that they are using. Okay, that is where if I'm creating a combination of these access and then granting them access. For example, people who are in Hungary, if they join for the first time, there are certain set of applications they'll be able to get. Could be any role. Then if they are joining from India, there'll be a certain set of access they'll be getting, some India systems that they will be needing. If they are joining in from US, so this is how you are actually creating attribute personas. Policies: if X set of users are joining, then you grant them Y access. You've created a policy. Based on the policy, you're giving them access. Okay. And TAC is mostly a system which we use daily. You have a Google Drive. Okay, and you decide whom to give what level of access. You're sharing pictures, you're sharing documents. This is called discretionary access control. Data owner or system enforces the access. Now, which access control model should be implemented? Is it risk based, TAC-MAC, ABAC, or PBAC? So, access is determined by user roles, and here this is actually simplifying the overall management. You have certain set of people working in a different role, and you're simply deciding the role and giving them access. If you want to get into that model of setting up access based on roles and responsibilities, RBAC is the best for you. But in general case, on a personal level, if you are working, DAC is best for you because access is controlled by data owner or the system, ensuring security. In general, even if you want to share some data from your OneDrive or from your SharePoint, you have created a folder and you want to share it to your team members. That is also DAC. It's not based on roles and responsibilities. And if there are policies, for example, if I am logging into this laptop, internet should not be accessible. That's a policy, right? Or certain websites are banned or not accessible. That's policy based. It is governed by the dynamic policies, enhancing the security or sometimes compliance and then organizational standards. ABAC, attribute based, is if you want to go further granular on the role based access control. Because one of the challenge with role based access control is you need to create a lot of groups. So hence you move into access is based on attribute, providing more flexibility. Okay, so that is how you decide which access control model should be implemented. So let's talk about an example in an organization via Okta, and this could be Ping, Entra, anything. Okay. So authorization rules determine can access an HR system, but not a finance system. Let's say you join as a user in the HR team. You will not be able to access any finance system. This is simple role-based access control. Further, you may be working in a project with the finance team, so you can view the records, but not edit the records, right? And definitely based on the privileged user world also managed separately via PAM, which is the privilege access management system. So this is a small example, I would say, on the organizational level. Now, what are the risks if these are not managed? Privilege creep, attacker, or an insider threat. A user can log in and they would start crawling, creeping across different apps. And anywhere, this is blocked, but anywhere if it is open, it'll try to see that if they can exploit something here. Over provisioning, too much access. Definitely, there could be insider threat trying to damage some of the system or steal some data. Compliance violation, users holding access beyond role needs. Okay. And some of the IAM tools and authorization is you have SailPoint and Savient, which has role design, access review, certifications. Then in the access management role, you have Okta, Ping, Entra, policy enforcement, conditional access. In the PAM, you have CyberArk, Beyond Trust. They do the privilege enforcement for admins. Again, these are some of the complex stuffs, but the theme today is just to ensure that we are learning authorization, okay, in overall scenario. Now, some of the interview tips is authentication authorization we did discuss in the previous session. This is like who you say you are, and this is what access you get after you have been granted the right level of like what you do when you have been authenticated on the first one. This is step one, and this is step two. Then what is least privilege and why is it important? First, again, I did talk about like the three levels in which you should be answering. First, talk about why you are doing least privilege and what is the model, how you implement it. And then one way of implementing is users get the access needed to perform their job because it reduces the risk and and the exposure to that risk. And give one example of RBAC in your past project. You can talk to a senior and ask them how RBAC is implemented. And quick assess assignment, pick up a role define the two systems they should access and one system that they should not. It could be like you're an IAM engineer or it could be a DevOps engineer, developer, whatever role you have. And that's where you can suggest where it fits, RBAC, ABAC, or PBAC. Okay, so with this, we wrap up the day 10 and I'll see you in day 11. Thank you very much.